Before we dig into the specifics here, is that how you see it, that there was no outside pressure here prompting this investigation?
Oh, no, absolutely not. This administration has, for this entire administration, been pressuring broadcasters to bend to its will. It wants broadcasters to only show content that it approves of and that paints it in a good light. So this is absolutely part of this pattern. And it's egregious, as I said before. It's an absolute violation of the First Amendment. And to be clear, for government to pressure broadcasters to censor themselves is, in fact, a violation of the First Amendment. And that's what's happening here. And as I noted before, this is something that if the companies challenge it, the FCC and this administration will fail because the First Amendment is on their side.
Walk us through the mechanics of what happens here. So by calling for this early review in the context of this broader investigation, what is the FCC able to do? How does the shape of that investigation change?
So it's important to note that the FCC does not have jurisdiction over the network itself. All the FCC has jurisdiction over is the licensing of the local broadcast stations. Literally, it's the licensing of the airwaves over which these local broadcast stations operate. And we have never seen before the FCC target a network by going after its local broadcast stations. Disney has 8 owned and operated broadcast stations throughout the country. That is not a large number of broadcast stations. And so what this FCC has done is really unprecedented in that it is calling for an early renewal of those licenses so that it can then challenge whether they like the way these stations are operating right now. Now, in the normal times, the very first renewal would have come due in 2028. The last renewal would have been in 2031. So we are talking years ahead of when these broadcasters were due to come in to reapply for to renew their licenses. So again, this is not about ensuring that there's compliance with the FCC's rules. This is absolutely about going after Disney to get them to change their practices the way that this administration wants them to do it.
To your knowledge, has this ever happened before? Can you remember another case where they triggered this early renewal? And it sounds like that itself is within the power of the FCC, but I couldn't come up with another example of when it had happened in recent history.
Certainly not in my professional career, because the last time the commission triggered this early renewal process was over a century ago. So it's been decades. And the standard for not renewing a license is extremely high. And it's certainly not based on this sham investigation that the FCC has initiated through this process.
I go back to what you said in that statement, the counsel that you gave media organizations to stand up for the First Amendment. And I'm curious, given your background as somebody who's worked in communications law for a very long time, what the message is, in fact, to those organizations, how they are thinking through what's happening here with Disney and with these ABC stations vis-a-vis themselves. How are they reacting and what it might mean for them?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm very heartened that Disney is, in fact, pushing back and defending its rights and the rights of its talent and the free speech rights and free press rights. And the reason that they are doing it, well, I don't mean to speak on behalf of them, but they tried capitulating to this administration before. But what we have learned is that capitulating once does not enable protection forever. Instead, the administration comes back with more and more demands. So right now, that is why I call for broadcasters to defend themselves, to defend the First Amendment rights, because they have a choice right now. The choice is they can defend the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press, or they can surrender it. And I'm glad to see Disney pushing back.
I'm wondering, I haven't seen a lot of public outcry yet to this point about some of the action that the FCC has taken, or the fact that there are these unfilled seats, or the way in which it's being governed. I'm wondering if you think that's because it's complicated and there's a lack of understanding and perhaps on our end coverage of some of these issues, or if you think regular people just don't think this is going to impact their daily lives, and if you would agree with that statement, or you think they will feel this at some point.
So I actually am seeing a lot of bipartisan pushback, certainly from congressmen, from senators. We saw Senator Ted Cruz, push back on that. We've seen even conservative media personalities push back on that because they are seeing that there really is a threat to the First Amendment here. I hear from members of the public every day who are alarmed by this. And that's why I embarked on my First Amendment tour, where I am going to local communities to talk to them about this administration's abuses of the First Amendment and encouraging people to stand up and speak out, because this is about protecting our democracy. And it's precious, and we need to make sure that we make our voices heard.
The FCC currently has a chairman who says the FCC is not an independent organization. You are one of 3 commissioners. There are supposed to be 5. You're the lone Democrat on the commission. Is this a regulator that at this moment in time is broken, that's not operating the way that it should be?
The FCC, as you note, is supposed to be an independent agency, and it's not acting as an independent agency. We are acting at the whims of this White House and this administration, and that's dangerous. When Congress established the Federal Radio Commission, which was the Federal Communications Commission's predecessor, it purposefully made it an independent, multi-member agency because it wanted to be an expert-driven body and also to protect the media from the whims of one person. Well, what we are seeing today is exactly what happens when we are simply doing the bidding of the whims of one person.
You said you have seen bipartisan support and bipartisan pushback against this action. I'm wondering, is there something Congress could do or should be doing at this point? Is there action they should be taking?
Absolutely. Congress should be asserting rigorous oversight over this agency right now and bringing to light the abuses of both the administration and this agency. In addition, it can implement guardrails. It could help us define the public interest, which is one of the excuses that this FCC has been using to go after broadcaster content. So I know that there's a lot of attention right now from Congress. We in fact, have gotten a couple letters just in the last couple days related to this very incident. And I look forward to testifying before Congress about what this FCC has been doing.